Fuel up. Caffeine acquired.
From around the globe, it's theCUBE, with digital coverage of DockerCon Live 2020. Brought to you by Docker and its ecosystem partners.
Hello everyone, welcome to DockerCon 2020. I'm John Furrier with theCUBE. I'm in our Palo Alto studios with our quarantine crew. We have a great lineup here for DockerCon 2020. Virtual event. Normally it was in person, face to face. I'll be with you throughout the day from an amazing lineup of content, over 50 different sessions, CUBE tracks, keynotes, and we've got two great co-hosts here with Docker, Jenny Bercio and Brett Fisher. We'll be with you all day today, taking you through the program, helping you navigate the sessions. I'm so excited. Jenny, this is a virtual event. We talk about this. Can you believe it? May the internet gods be with us today, and I hope everyone's having an easy time getting in. Jenny, Brett, thank you for being here. Hey.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So great to see everyone chatting and telling us where they're from. Welcome to the Docker community. We have a great day planned for you.
Guys, great job getting this all together. I know how hard it is. These virtual events are hard to pull off. I'm blown away by the community at Docker, the amount of sessions that are coming in, the sponsor support has been amazing. Just the overall excitement around the brand and the opportunities given this tough times we're in. It's super exciting. Again, may the internet gods be with us throughout the day, but there's plenty of content. Brett's got an amazing all-day marathon group of people coming in and chatting. Jenny, this has been an amazing journey and it's a great opportunity. Tell us about the virtual event. Why DockerCon virtual? Obviously everyone's canceling their events, but this is special to you guys. Talk about DockerCon virtual this year.
Yeah, the Docker community shows up at DockerCon every year. And even though we didn't have the opportunity to do an in-person event this year, we didn't want to lose the time that we all come together at DockerCon, the conversations, the amazing content and learning opportunities. So we decided back in December to make DockerCon a virtual event. And of course, when we did that, there was no quarantine. We didn't expect, I certainly didn't expect to be delivering it from my living room, but we were completely blown away. There's nearly 70,000 people across the globe that have registered for DockerCon today. And when you look at DockerCons of past, right, live events really, and we're learning, are just the tip of the iceberg. And so we're thrilled to be able to deliver a more inclusive global event today. And we have so much planned. I think, Brett, you want to tell us some of the things that you have planned?
Well, I'm sure I'm going to forget something because there's a lot going on. But we've obviously got interviews all day today on this channel with John and the crew. Jenny has put together an amazing set of all these speakers all day long in the sessions. And then you have the Captains on Deck, which is essentially the YouTube live hangout where we just basically talk shop. It's all engineers all day long, captains and special guests. And we're going to be in chat talking to you about answering your questions. Maybe we'll dig into some stuff based on the problems you're having or the questions you have. Maybe there'll be some random demos, but it's basically not scripted. It's an all day long unscripted event. So I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun hanging out in there.
Well, guys, I want to just say it's been amazing how you structured this so everyone has a chance to ask questions, whether it's informal laid back in the Captain's channel or in the sessions where the speakers will be there with their presentations. But Jenny, I want to get your thoughts because we have a site out there that's structured a certain way for the folks watching. If you're on your desktop, there's a main stage hero. There's then tracks, and Brett's running the Captain's track, so you can click on that link and jump into his session all day long. He's got an amazing set of lineups, leaning back, having a good time. And then each of the tracks, you can jump into those sessions. It's on a clock, but it'll be available on demand. All that content is available if you're on your desktop. If you're on your mobile, it's the same thing. Look at the calendar, find the session that you want. If you're interested in it, you could watch it live and chat with the participants in real time or watch it on demand. So there's plenty of content to navigate through. We do have it on a clock and we'll be streaming sessions as they happen. So you're in the moment and that's a great time to chat in real time. But there's more. Jenny, getting more out of this event, you guys try to bring together the simulation of community. How does the participants get more out of the event besides just consuming some of the content all day today?
Yeah, so first set up your profile, put your picture next to your chat handle, and then chat. We have, like John said, we have various setups today to help you get the most out of your experience. Our breakout sessions, the content is pre-recorded, so you get quality content and the speakers in chat, so you can ask questions the whole time. If you're looking for the hallway track, then definitely check out the Captains on Deck channel. And then we have some great interviews all day on theCUBE. So set up your profile, join the conversation, and be kind, right? This is a community event. Code of conduct is linked on every page at the top, and just have a great day.
And Brett, you guys have an amazing lineup on the Captains, so you have a great YouTube channel that you have your stream on, so the folks who are familiar with that can get that either on YouTube or on the site. The chat is integrated in, so you're set up. What do you got going on? Give us the highlights. What are you excited about throughout your day? Take us through your program on the Captains. That's going to be probably pretty dynamic in the chat too. Take us through.
Yeah. So I'm sure we're going to have lots of stuff going on in chat. So no concerns there about having crickets in the chat. But we're going to be basically starting the day with two of my good Docker Captain friends, Nirmal Mehta and Laura Taco, and we're going to basically start you out. And at the end of this keynote, at the end of this hour, and we're going to get you going. And then you can maybe jump out and go to take some sessions. Maybe there's some cool stuff you want to check out in other sessions that you want to chat and talk with the instructors, the speakers there. And then you're going to come back to us, right? Or go over checking out the interview. So the idea is you're hopping back and forth. And throughout the day, we're basically changing out every hour. We're not just changing out the guests, basically, but we're also changing out the topics that we can cover because different guests will have different expertise. We're going to have some special guests in from Microsoft, talk about some of the cool stuff going on there. And basically, it's Captains all day long. And if you've been on my YouTube live show, you've watched that, you've seen a lot of the guests we have on there. And I'm lucky to just hang out with all these really awesome people around the world. So it's going to be fun.
Awesome, and the content again has been preserved. You guys had a great session on call for paper sessions. Jenny, this is good stuff. What other things can people do to make it interesting? Obviously, we're looking for suggestions. Feel free to chirp on Twitter about ideas that can be done, but you guys got some surprises. There's some selfies. What else? What's going on? Any secret surprises throughout the day?
There are secret surprises throughout the day. You'll need to pay attention to the keynotes. Brett will have giveaways. I know our wonderful sponsors have giveaways planned as well in their sessions. Hopefully, right, you feel conflicted about what you're going to attend. So do know that everything is recorded and will be available on demand afterwards, so you can catch anything that you miss. Most of them will be available right after they stream the initial time.
All right, great stuff. So they got the Docker selfies. So the Docker selfies, the hashtag is just DockerCon, hashtag DockerCon. If you feel like you want to add some other hashtags, no problem. Check out the sessions. You can pop in and out. The captains is kind of the cool kids are going to be hanging with Brett, and then all the knowledge and learning. Don't miss the keynote. The keynote should be solid. We got James Governor from Red Monk delivering a keynote. I'll be interviewing him live after his keynote, so stay with us. And again, check out the interactive calendar. All you got to do is look at the calendar and click on the session you want. You'll jump right in, hop around, give us feedback. We're doing our best. Brett, any final thoughts on what you want to share to the community around what you got going on, the virtual event, just random thoughts?
Yeah, so sorry we can't all be together in the same physical place, but the coolest thing about us doing this online is that we actually get to involve everyone. So as long as you have a computer and internet, you can actually attend DockerCon if you've never been to one before. So we're trying to recreate that experience online. Like Jenny said, the code of conduct is important. So, you know, we're all in this together with the chat. So try to be nice in there. These are all real humans that have feelings just like me. So let's try to keep it cool. And over in the Captain's channel, we'll be taking your questions and maybe playing some music, playing some games, giving away some free stuff while you're, in between sessions learning. So yeah.
And I got to say, props to your rig. You got an amazing setup there, Brett. I love what your show you do. It's really badass and kick-ass, so great stuff. Jenny, sponsors, the ecosystem response to this event has been phenomenal. The attendance, 67,000. We're seeing a surge of people hitting the site now, so if you're not getting in, just wait. We're going to crank through the queue. But the sponsors and the ecosystem really delivered on the content side and also the support. You want to share a few shout outs on the sponsors who really kind of helped make this happen?
Yeah, so definitely make sure you check out the sponsor pages and each page is the actual content that they will be delivering. So they are delivering great content to you so you can learn, and a huge thank you to our platinum and gold sponsors.
Awesome. Well, I got to say, I'm super impressed. I'm looking forward to the Microsoft, Amazon sessions, which are going to be good. And there's a couple great customer sessions there. And I tweeted this out last night, and I'd like to get you guys' reaction to this because there's been a lot of talk around the COVID crisis that we're in, but there's also a positive upshot to this Cambrian explosion of developers that are going to be building new apps. And I said, apps aren't going to just change the world, they're going to save the world. So a lot of the theme here is the impact that developers are having right now in the current situation. Forget the goodness of Compose and all the things going on in Docker and the relationships. There's real impact happening with the developer community, and it's pretty evident in the program and some of the talks and some of the examples how containers and microservices are certainly changing the world and helping save the world. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think we have like you said, a number of sessions and interviews in the program today that really dive into that, and even particularly around COVID. Clemente Biondo is sharing his company's experience from being able to continue operations in Italy when they were completely shut down at the beginning of March. We have also in the CUBE channel several interviews from the National Institute of Health and Precision Cancer Medicine at the end of the day. And you just can really see how containerization and developers are moving an industry and really humanity forward because of what they're able to build and create with advances in technology. Yeah,
and the first responders in these days as developers. Brett, Compose is getting a lot of traction on Twitter. I can see some buzz already building up. There's huge traction with Compose, just the ease of use and almost a call for arms for integrating into all the system language libraries. I mean, what's going on with Compose? I mean, what's the captain say about this? I mean, it seems to be really tracking in terms of demand and interest.
Yeah, it's I think we're over 700,000 composed files on GitHub. So it's definitely beyond just the standard Docker run commands. It's definitely the next tool that people use to run containers. Just by having and that's not even counting everything. That's just counting the files that are named Docker Compose YAML. So I'm sure a lot of you out there have created a YAML file to manage your local containers, or even on a server with Docker Compose. And the nice thing is Docker's doubling down on that. So we've gotten some news recently from them about what they want to do with opening the spec up, getting more companies involved, because Compose has already gathered so much interest from the community. You know, AWS has importers, there's Kubernetes importers for it. So there's more stuff coming, and we might just see something here in a few minutes. So.
All right, well, let's get into the keynote. Guys, jump into the keynote. If you missed anything, come back to the stream, check out the sessions, check out the calendar. Let's go, let's have a great time, have some fun. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the day. We'll see you soon.
Okay, what is the name of that whale?
Molly.
And what is the name of this whale?
Moby.
That's right. Dad's got to go. Thanks, bud.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, I'm Scott Johnston, CEO of Docker, and welcome to DockerCon 2020. This year's DockerCon is an all-virtual event with more than 60,000 members of the Docker community joining from around the world. And with the global shelter-in-place policies, we're excited to offer a unifying, inclusive, virtual community event in which anyone and everyone can participate from their home. As a company, Docker has been through a lot of changes since our last DockerCon last year. The most important, starting last November, is our refocusing 100% on developers and development teams. And as part of that refocusing, one of the big challenges we've been working on is how to help development teams quickly and efficiently get their app from code to cloud. And wouldn't it be cool if developers could quickly deploy to the cloud right from their local environment with the commands and workflow they already know? We're excited to give you a sneak preview of what we've been working on. And rather than slides, we thought we'd jump right into the product. Now, joining me to demonstrate some of these cool new features is Anka Yordake, one of our engineers here at Docker working on Docker Compose. Hello, Anka.
Hello.
We're going to show how an application development team collaborates using Docker Desktop and Docker Hub, and then deploys the app directly from the Docker command line to the clouds in just 2 commands. A development team would use this to quickly share functional changes of their app with the product management team, with beta testers, or other development teams. Let's go ahead and take a look at our app. Now, this is a web app that randomly pulls words from the database and assembles them into sentences. You can see it's a pretty typical 3-tier application, with each tier implemented in its own container. We have a front-end web service, a middle tier, which implements the logic to randomly pull the words from the database and assemble them, and a back-end database. And here you can see the database uses the Postgres official image from Docker Hub. Now, let's first run the app locally using Docker command line and the Docker engine in Docker Desktop. We'll do a Docker Compose up, and you can see that it's pulling the containers from our Docker organization account, Wordsmith Inc. And now that it's up, let's go ahead and look at localhost, and we'll confirm that the application is functioning as desired. So there's one sentence. Let's pull, and now you can indeed see that we are pulling random words and assembling into sentences. Now you can also see, though, that the look and feel is a bit dated. And so Anka is going to show us how easy it is to make changes and share them with the rest of the team. Anka, over to you.
Thank you. So I have the source code of our application on my machine, and I have updated it with the latest theme from DockerCon 2020. So before committing the code, I'm going to build the application locally and run it to verify that indeed the changes are good. So I'm going to build with Docker Compose the image for the web service. Now that the image has been built, I'm going to deploy it locally with Compose up. We can now check the dashboard in Docker Desktop that indeed our containers are up and running, and we can we can open in the web browser the endpoint for the web service. So as we can see, we have the latest changes in for our application. So as you can see, the application has been updated successfully. So now I'm going to push the image that I have just built to my organization's shared repository on Docker Hub. So I can do this with Docker Compose push web. Now that the image has been updated in in the Docker Hub repository, all my teammates can access it and check the changes.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Anka. Now, of course, in these times, video conferencing is the new normal. And as great as it is, video conferencing does not allow users to actually test the application. And so, to allow us to have our app be accessible by others outside our organization, such as beta testers or others, let's go ahead and deploy it to the cloud.
Sure. We can do this by employing context. A Docker context is a mechanism that we can use to target different platforms for deploying containers. The context will hold information as the endpoint for the platform and also how to authenticate to it. So I'm going to list the context that I have set locally. As you can see, I'm currently using the default context that is pointing to my local Docker engine. So all the commands that I have issued so far were targeting my local engine. Now, in order to deploy the application on a cloud, I have an account in the Azure cloud where I have no resource running currently, and I have created for this account a dedicated context that will hold the information on how to connect it to it. So now all I need to do is to switch to this context with Docker context use and the name of my cloud context. So all the commands that I'm going to run from now on are going to target the cloud platform. So we can also check very in a simpler way, we can check the running containers with Docker PS. So as we see, no container is running in my cloud account. Now to deploy the application, all I need to do is to run a Docker Compose app. And this will trigger the deployment of my application.
Thanks, Anka. Now notice that Anka did not have to move the Compose file from Docker Desktop to Azure. Nor did she have to make any changes to the Docker Compose file, and nor did she change any of the containers that she and I were using locally in our local environments. So the same Compose file, same images, run locally and up on Azure without changes. While the app is deploying to Azure, let's highlight some of the features in Docker Hub that helps teams with remote-first collaboration. So first, here's our Teams account, Wordsmith Inc., and you can see the updated container, Sentences Web, that Anka just pushed a couple minutes ago. As far as collaboration, we can add members using their Docker ID or their email, and then we can organize them into different teams depending on their role in the application development process. And then once they're organized into different teams, we can assign them permissions so that teams can work in parallel without stepping on each other's changes accidentally. For example, we'll give the engineering team full read-write access, whereas the product management team we'll go ahead and just give read-only access. So this role-based access control is just one of the many features in Docker Hub that allows teams to collaboratively and quickly develop applications. Okay, Anka, how's our app doing?
Our app has been successfully deployed to the cloud, so we can easily check either the Azure portal to verify the containers running for it, or simpler, we can run a Docker PS again to get the list with the containers that have been deployed for it. In the output from the Docker PS, we can see an endpoint that we can use to access our application in the web browser. So we can see the application running in clouds. It's really up to date, and now we can take this particular endpoint and share it with our within our organization, such that anybody can have a look at it.
That's cool, Anka. We showed how we can deploy an app to the cloud in minutes in just 2 commands, and using commands that Docker users already know. Thanks so much. In that sneak preview, you saw a team developing an app collaboratively with a toolchain that includes Docker Desktop and Docker Hub. And simply by switching Docker context from their local environment to the cloud, deploy that app to the cloud to Azure without leaving the command line, using Docker commands they already know. And in doing so, really simplifying for development team getting their app from code to cloud. And just as important, what you did not see was a lot of complexity. You did not see cloud-specific interfaces, user management, or security. You did not see us having to provision and configure compute, networking, and storage resources in the cloud. And you did not see infrastructure-specific application changes to either the compose file or the Docker images. And by simplifying away that complexity, these new features help application development teams quickly iterate and get their ideas, their apps, from code to cloud. And helping development teams build, share, and run great applications is what Docker is all about. Now, Docker is able to simplify for development teams getting their app from code to cloud quickly as a result of standards, products, and ecosystem partners. It starts with open standards for applications and application artifacts, and active open source communities around those standards to ensure portability and choice. Then, as you saw in the demo, the Docker experience delivered by Docker Desktop and Docker Hub simplifies the team's collaborative development of applications, and together with ecosystem partners, provides every stage of an application development toolchain. For example, deploying applications to the cloud in 2 commands, what you saw in the demo, well, that's an extension of our strategic partnership with Microsoft, which we announced yesterday. And you can learn more about our partnership from Amanda Silver from Microsoft later today, right here at DockerCon. Another toolchain stage, the capability to scan applications for security vulnerabilities, that's a result of our partnership with Snyk, which we announced last week. You can learn more about that partnership from Peter McKay, CEO of Snyk, again later today, right here at DockerCon. A third example, a development team can automate the build of container images upon a simple git push as a result of Docker Hub integrations with GitHub and Atlassian Bitbucket. And as a final example of Docker and the ecosystem helping teams quickly build applications, together with our ISV partners, we offer in Docker Hub over 500 official and verified publisher images of ready-to-run Dockerized application components, such as databases, load balancers, programming languages, and much more. Of course, none of this happens without people, and I would like to take a moment to thank 4 groups of people in particular. First, the Docker team, past and present. We've had a challenging 12 months, including a restructuring and then a global pandemic. And yet their support for each other and their passion for the product, this community, and our customers has never been stronger. We thank our community. Docker wouldn't be Docker without you. And whether you're one of the 50 Docker captains, the almost 400 meetup organizers, the thousands of contributors and maintainers, every day you show up, you give back, you teach, and you support. We thank our users, more than 6.5 million developers who have built more than 7 million applications and are then sharing those applications through Docker Hub at a rate of more than 1.5 billion polls per week. Those apps are then run on more than 44 million Docker engines. And finally, we thank our customers, the over 18,000 Docker subscribers, both individual developers and development teams, from startups to large organizations, 60% of which are outside the United States. And they span every industry vertical, from media to entertainment to manufacturing, healthcare, and much more. Thank you. Now, looking forward, given these unprecedented times, we would like to offer a challenge. While it would be easy to feel helpless amidst this global pandemic, the challenge is for us as individuals and as a community to instead see and grasp the tremendous opportunities before us to be forces for good. For starters, look no further than the pandemic itself. In the fight against this global disaster, applications and data are playing a critical role, and the Docker community quickly recognized this and rose to the challenge. There are over 600 COVID-19 related publicly available projects on Docker Hub today, from data processing to genome analytics to data visualization. Folding at Home, the distributed computing project for simulating protein dynamics, is also available on Docker Hub, and it uses spare compute capacity to analyze COVID-19 proteins to aid in the design of new therapies. And right here at DockerCon, you can hear how Clemente Biondo and his company Engineering Ingegneria Informatica are using Docker in the fight with COVID-19 in Italy every day. Now, in addition to fighting the pandemic directly, as a community, we also have an opportunity to bridge the disruption the pandemic is wreaking. It's impacting us at work and at home, in every country around the world, in every aspect of our lives. For example, many of you have a student at home whose world is going to be very different when they return to school. As employees, all of us have experienced the stresses from working from home, as well as many of the benefits. And in fact, 75% of us say that going forward, we're going to continue to work from home, at least occasionally. And of course, one of the biggest disruptions has been job losses, over 35 million in the United States alone. And we know that's affected many of you. And yet your skills are in such demand and so important now more than ever. And that's why here at DockerCon, we want to try to do our part to help. And we're promoting this hashtag on Twitter, hashtag DockerConJobs, where job seekers and those offering jobs can reach out to one another and connect. Now, the pandemic's disruption is accelerating the shift of more and more of our time, our priorities, our dollars from offline to online, to hybrid, and even online-only ways of living. We need to find new ways to collaborate, new approaches to engage customers, new modes for education, and much more. And what is going to fill the needs created by this acceleration from offline to online? New applications. And it's this need, this demand for all these new applications that represents a great opportunity for the Docker community of developers. The world needs us, needs you, developers, now more than ever. So let's seize this moment. Let us and our teams go build, share, and run great new applications. Thank you for joining today, and let's have a great DockerCon.
Okay, welcome back to the DockerCon studio headquarters and your hosts. Got Jenny Bricio and myself, John Furrier, at Furrier on Twitter if you want to tweet me anything, and at DockerCon as well. Share what you're thinking. Great keynote there from Scott, CEO. Jenny, demo, DockerCon jobs, some highlights there from Scott. Yeah, I love the intro. You know, okay, son, about to do the keynote, the little green room comes on, makes it human. We're all
Right.
we're all trying to survive.
It's certainly the reality of what we are all dealing with right now. I had to ask my kids to leave though, or they would crash the whole stream. But yes, we have a great community, large community gathered here today, and we do want to take the opportunity for those that are looking for jobs or hiring to share with the hashtag DockerConJobs. In addition, we want to support direct healthcare workers, and Brett Fisher and the Captains will be running a all-day charity stream on the Captains channel. Go there and you'll get the link to donate to directrelief.org, which is a California-based nonprofit delivering and aid and supporting healthcare workers globally with response to the COVID-19 crisis.
Okay, if you're jumping into the stream, I'm John Furrier with Jenny. We're going to be your hosts all day today throughout DockerCon. It's a packed house of great content. You have a mainstream, theCUBE, which is the mainstream that will be promoting a lot of CUBE interviews, but check out the 40+ sessions underneath in the interactive calendar on DockerCon.com site. Check it out, they're going to be live on a clock, so if you want to participate in real time in the chat, jump into your session on the track of your choice and participate with the folks in there chatting. If you miss it, it's going to go right on demand right after, so that all content will immediately be available. So make sure you check it out. Docker selfie is a hashtag. Take a selfie, share it. Docker, hashtag Docker jobs. If you're looking for a job or have openings, please share with the community. And of course, give us feedback on what you can do. We got James Governor of the keynote coming up next. He's with RedMonk. Not afraid to share his opinion on open source, on what companies should be doing, and also the evolution of this Cambrian explosion of apps that are going to be coming as we come out of this post-pandemic world. A lot of people are thinking about this, the crisis, and following through. So, stay with us for more and more coverage. Jenny, favorite sessions on your mind for people to pay attention to that they should look?
But first, want to address a few things that continue to come up in the chat. Sessions are, especially breakout sessions, after they play live and the speakers in chat with you, those go on demand. They are recorded. You will be able to access them. Also, if the screen is too small, there is the button to expand full screen and different quality levels for the video that you can choose on your end. All the breakout sessions also have closed captioning. So please, if you would like to read along, turn that on so you can stay with the sessions. We have some great sessions kicking off right at 10 a.m., getting started with Docker. We have a full track really in the how-to and hands-on that you should check out. Devs in action, hear what other people are doing. And then of course, our sponsors are delivering great content to you all day long.
Tons of content, it's all available. They'll always be up, always on at large scale. Thanks for watching. Now we got James Governor, the keynote. He's with RedMonk, the analyst firm, and has been tracking open source for many generations. He's been doing amazing work. Watch his great keynote. I'm going to be interviewing him live right after, so stay with us and enjoy the rest of the day. We'll see you back shortly.
Hi, I'm James Governor, one of the co-founders of a company called RedMonk. We're an industry research firm focusing on developer-led technology adoption. So that's, I guess, why Docker invited me to DockerCon 2020 to talk about some trends that we're seeing in the world of work and software development. So, Monk Chips, that's who I am. I spend a lot of time on Twitter. It's a great research tool. It's a great way to find out what's going on and to keep track of, as I say, those people that we value so highly, software developers, engineers, and practitioners. So when I started talking to Docker about this event, it was, it was pre-Rona, shall we say. The idea of a crowd wasn't a scary thing, but today you see something like this, it makes you feel uncomfortable. This is not a place that I want to be. I'm pretty sure it's a place you don't want to be. And, to that end, I think it's interesting, quote by Ellen Powell, she says, work from home is now just work. And we're going to see more and more of that. Organizations aren't feeling the same way they did about work before. Who are these people? Who is my concern? So GitHub says it has 50 million developers, right, on its network. Now, one of the things I think is most interesting is not that it has 50 million developers, perhaps that's a proxy for number of developers worldwide, but quite frankly, a lot of those accounts, there's all kinds of people there. There are designers, there are data engineers, there are data scientists, there are product managers, there are tech marketers. It's a big, big community, and it goes way beyond just software developers itself. Frankly, for me, I'd probably be saying there's more like 20, 25 million developers worldwide, but GitHub knows a lot about the world of code. So what else do they know? One of the things they know is that world of code, software, and open source is becoming increasingly global. I get so excited about this stuff. The idea that there are these different software communities around the planet where we're seeing massive expansions in terms of things like open source. Great example is Nigeria. So Nigeria, more than 200 million people, right? The energy there in terms of events, in terms of learning, in terms of teaching, in terms of the desire to code, the desire to launch businesses, the desire to be part of a global software community is just so exciting. And this sort of energy is not just in Nigeria, it's in other countries in Africa, it's happening in Egypt, it's happening around the world. So this energy is something that's super interesting to me. We need to think about that. We've got global challenges that we need to solve, and software is going to be a big part of that. So, you know, at the moment, we can talk about other countries, but what about, frankly, the gender gap, the gender issue? That, you know, from 1984 onwards, the number of women taking computer science degrees began to not track, but to crater in comparison to what men were doing. The tech industry is way too male focused. There are men that are dominant. It's not welcoming. We haven't found ways to have those pathways and frankly to drive inclusion. And the women I know in tech have to deal with a massively disproportionate amount of stress and things like online networks. But talking about online networks and talking about a better way of living, I was really excited by GitHub Satellite recently. It was a fantastic demo by Alison McMillan, and she did a demo about code spaces. So code spaces is Microsoft's online IDE, new platform that they've built. And, you know, online IDEs, we're never quite sure, you know, plenty of people still out there just using Emacs, but Visual Studio Code has been a big success. And so this idea of moving to an online IDE, it's been around there for a while. What they did was just make really tight integrations. So you're in your GitHub repo and just be able to create a development environment with effectively one click, getting rid of all of the yak shaving, making it super easy. And what I loved was at the demo where Ali's like, yeah, because this is great. When my kids are having a nap, I can just start coding and I don't have to sort out all the rest of it. And to me, that was amazing. It was like productivity as inclusion. Here was a senior director at GitHub. They're doing this amazing work and they're making this clear statement about being a parent. And I think that was fantastic because that's what to me, part of this working from home, which has been so challenging for so many of us, began to open up new possibilities and frankly, exciting possibilities. So Ali's also got a podcast, Parent Driven Development, which I think is super important because this is about men and women. We're all in this together. Sure, parenting is a team sport, same as software development. And the idea that we should be thinking about how to be more productive is super important to me. So I want to talk a bit about developer culture and how it led to social media. Because, you know, social media, we're in this advanced stage now. It's all TikTok, it's like exercise, people doing incredible backflips and stuff like that, doing a bunch of dancing. We've had the world of sharing cat gifs, Facebook. You know, we sort of see social media as, I think, a phenomenon in its own right. Whereas for me, I think it's interesting because it's progenitors. Where did it come from? So here's Murray Turolf. So 1971, one of the features in the emergency management information system that he built, which it's topical. It was for medical tracking medical information as well, medical emergencies, included a bulletin board system so that it could keep track of what people were doing on a team and make sure that they were collaborating effectively. Boom! That was the start of something big, obviously. Another date I think is worth looking at, 1983. So Radia Perlman, Spanning Tree Protocol. So at DEC, they were very good at distributed systems. And the idea was that you could have a distributed system, and so much of the internetworking that we do today was based on Radia's work. And the notion that basically you could span out a huge network so that everyone could collaborate. That is incredibly exciting in terms of the trends that I'm talking about. So then let's look at 1988. You've got IRC. IRC, what developer has not used IRC, right? Well, I guess maybe some of the younger ones might not have. But I don't know if we're post-IRC yet. But Jarkko Okkarinen at a Finnish university, you know, really nailed it with IRC as a platform that people could communicate effectively with. And, you know, then we go into like 1991. So we've had IRC, we've had Finnish universities doing a lot of really interesting work about collaboration. And I don't think it was necessarily an accident that this is where Linus Torvalds announced Linux. So Linux was a wonderfully packaged idea in terms of we're going to take this Unix thing, and when I say package, what it packaged was the idea that we could collaborate on software. So you know, it may have just been the work of one person, but clearly what made it important and made it interesting was finding a social networking pattern for software development so that everybody could work on something at scale. That was really, I think, fundamental and foundational. Now, I think it's important, if we're going to talk about Linus, to talk about some things that are not good about software culture, not good about open source culture, not good about hacker culture, and that's where I'm going to talk about code of conduct. We have not been welcoming to new people. You know, we got the acronyms, you know, JFGI, You know, we call people noobs. That's super unhelpful. We've got to find ways to be more welcoming and more self-sustaining in our communities, because otherwise communities will fail. And I'd like to thank everyone that has a code of conduct and has encouraged others to have codes of conduct. We need to have codes of conduct that are enforced to ensure that we have better diversity at our events. And that's for women, underrepresented minorities, all different kinds of people need to be well looked after and be in safe and inclusive spaces. And that's for online events, but of course it's also for all of our activities offline. So, Linus, as I say, not the most charming of characters at all time, but he has done some amazing technology. So we get to like 2005, the creation of Git. Now Git was, you know, not necessarily the distributed version control system that would win, but there were some interesting principles there, and they'd come out of the work that he had done in terms of trying to build and sustain the Linux code base. So it's very much based on experience. He had an itch that he needed to scratch, and there was a community that was building this thing, so what was going to be the option? Came up with Git. Foundational to another huge wave of social change, frankly. Get to Logical Awesome, April 2008. GitHub, right? GitHub comes up. They've looked at Git, they've packaged it up, they've found a way to make it consumable so that teams can use it and really begin to take advantage of the power of that distributed version control model. Now, ironically enough, of course, they centralize the service in doing so. So we have a single point of failure on GitHub. But on the other hand, the notion of the pull request, the primitives that they established and made usable by people, that changed everything in terms of software development. I think another one that I'd really like to look at is Slack. So Slack is a huge success, used by all different kinds of businesses. But it began specifically as a pivot from a company called Glitch. It was a game company. And they wanted a tool internally that was better than IRC. So they built out something that later became Slack. So Slack 2014 is established as a company. And basically, it was this Slack fit software engineering, the focus on automation, the conversational aspects, the asynchronous aspects. It really pulled things together in a way that was interesting to software developers. And I think we've seen this pattern in the world, frankly, over the last few years. Software developers are influencers. So Slack, first used by the engineering teams, later used by everybody. And arguably, you could say the same thing actually happened with Apple. Apple was mainstreamed by developers adopting that platform. Get to 2013, boom again, Solomon Hykes, Docker, right? So Docker I mean, containers were not new. They were just super hard to use. People found it difficult technology. It was esoteric. It wasn't something that they could fully understand. Solomon did an incredible job of understanding how it could fit, containers could fit into modern developer workflows. So if we think about immutable images, if we think about the ability to have everything required in the package where you are, it really tied into what people were trying to do with CI/CD, tied into microservices, and certainly the notion of sort of disposability. Docker nailed that, and I guess from this conference at least, the rest is history. So I want to talk a little bit about, you know, scratching the itch, and particularly what has become, I call it the developer aesthetic. So let's go into dark mode now. You know, I've talked about developers laying out these foundations and frameworks that get mainstreamed. Frankly, now my son, who's 14, he laughs at me if I don't have dark mode on in an application. And it's this notion that developers, you know, they have an aesthetic. It does get adopted. I mean, it's quite often jokey. One of the things we've seen in the really successful platforms like GitHub, Docker, NPM. Let's look at GitHub. Let's look at Docker. That playfulness, I think, was really interesting. And that changes the world of work, right? So we've got the world of work, which can be buttoned up, which can be somewhat tight. I think both of those companies were really influential in thinking that software development, which is a profession, it's also something that can and is fun. And think about how can we make it more fun? How can we develop better applications together? Takes me to, if we think about Docker talking about build, share, and run, for me, the key word is share, because development has to be a team sport. It needs to be sharing, it needs to be kind, and it needs to bring together people to do more effective work, because that's what it's all about. Doing effective work. If you think about Zoom, it's a proxy for collaboration in terms of its value. So, you know, we've got all of these airlines, and frankly, add up their share, add up their total value, it's currently less than Zoom. So video conferencing has become so much of how we live now. on a consumer basis, but certainly from a business to business perspective. And when I talk about how we live now, I want to think about like what will come out of this traumatic, and it is incredibly traumatic time. You know, for so many, I'd like to say I'm very privileged. I can work from home. So thank you to all the frontline workers that are out there. They're not in that position. But overall, what I'm really thinking about, are there some things that will come out of this that will benefit us as a culture? Looking at cities like Paris, Milan, London, New York, putting in new cycling infrastructure so that people can social distance and travel outside because they don't feel comfortable on public transport. I think sort of amazing. Widening pavements. Oh, we can't do that. All these cities have done it literally overnight. And it sort of changes is exciting. And what does come after? Like, are there some positive aspects of the current issues that we face? So I've got a conference, or I've got a community that me and some others have been working on. So Katie from HashiCorp and Carla from Container Solutions, basically about, look, what will the world look like in developer relations? Can we have developer relations without the air miles? Because developer advocates, they do too much travel. It ends up, you know, burning them out. Developer relations people don't like to say no. They may have bosses that say, you know, it's like, oh, that conference went great. Now we're going to roll it out worldwide to 47 cities. That stuff is terrible. It's terrible from a personal perspective, and it's really terrible from an environmental perspective. We need to travel less. Virtual events are crushing it. Microsoft just had Build, right? Normally there'd be sort of, you know, just over 10,000 people. They had 245,000 plus registrations. 40,000 of them were in the last day, right? Red Hat Summit, 80,000 people. IBM Think, 90,000 people. GitHub crushed it as well. Like, this is a more inclusive way. People can dip in. They can be from all around the world. You know, I mentioned Nigeria and how fantastic it is. Very often Nigerian developers and advocates find it hard to get visas. Why should they be shut out of events? Events are going to start to become remote first because, frankly, look at it. If you're turning in those kinds of numbers, and you know, Microsoft was already doing great online events, but they absolutely nailed it. They're going to have to ask some serious questions about why everybody should get back on a plane again. So if you're going to do remote, you've got to be intentional about it. It's one thing I find so exciting about GitLab. GitLab's culture is amazing. Everything is documented. Everything is public. Everything is transparent. Make that really clear. And if you look at their principles, everything, you can't have implicit collaboration models. Everything needs to be documented and explicit so that anyone can work anywhere and they can still be part of the team. Remote first is where we're at now. Coinbase, Shopify, even Barclays says they're not going to go back to having everybody in offices in the way they used to. This is a fundamental shift. And I think it's got significant implications, you know, for all industries, but definitely for software development. Here's the thing. The last 20 years were about distributed computing, microservices, the cloud. We've got pretty good at that. The next 20 years will be about distributed work. We can't have everybody living in San Francisco and London and Berlin. The talent is distributed. The talent is elsewhere. So how are we going to build tools? Who is going to scratch that itch to build tools to make them more effective? Who's building the next generation of apps? You are. Thanks.